The Pokemon world, what an amazing place, you guys. Or at least that's what I've been saying for the majority of my life. But during the latest years, my friends and I, who have been such huge Pokemon fans throughout our life, it's been one of our major constants, I would say. And as an adult, it kind of feels sad, but to be honest, everybody has their own passions, and this is ours, just like you guys probably watching this video. We haven't been satisfied with what's going on, and that's probably the majority of us. Throughout the years, 30 years of Pokemon game, I would say that there have been three major chapters that the Pokemon games have been going through. The first big jump was going from 2D sprites to 3D. And of course, they needed some time to adjust with that, but I think that they managed to do so because, yes, maybe X and Y and the Sun and Moon games were a little bit iffy, talking about 3D models and how the regions looked in the games. But guys, I think that Pokemon Let's Go and even Sword and Shield, they look amazing. I think that they nailed the art style that the Switch games should have regarding Pokemon. And I think this is one of the major things that is missing right now. Yes, the games are buggy, the graphics are not pumped up to the maximum, like for example, Tears of the Kingdom and other amazing games on the Switch. Yes, we complained about the balcony not being 3D, like we complained about the trees not having a good texture in Sword and Shield. But is that really the problem? I studied game design in university, and a major thing that was taught to us is that the art direction is vital to convey all the other parts of the game. Pokemon is a game about animal-like creatures that have powers, so they don't need to be something very realistic, and I think that is what they kind of tried to do with the latest games. They tried to blend these 3D models of fantastical creatures in like a almost realistic environment, even though of course the textures are a little bit cartoony, but the creatures and the environment do not blend well together. And I think that is something they actually managed to do with Sword and Shield and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. You can take one creature, you can put it anywhere in the maps, in the routes, in the city, and everything blends very well together. The second big jump that we had during the Pokemon franchise, I think it's the change from not open world to open world games. And we had a small transition with Legends ZA going from not open world to open map. And I actually think they managed to find a better solution compared to Scarlet and Violet. Having a big piece of land and making it interesting all throughout the area is not an easy task. I think that for games like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, they managed to do so. Like, it doesn't matter where you go in the game, you look around and maybe you see a tall mountain in the background and you want to find a way to get there, or you see like a mysterious creatures, the mysterious woods. There's always something interesting to look at, but Paldea did not manage to hit that spot. And I believe it's something vital for Pokemon games because think about it, you guys. You have the Pokemon, which, some designs are appreciated more than others, but at the end of the day, it's like nature, You have some beautiful creatures, you have some horrible creatures that they're disgusting to look at, but yeah, it's gonna be like that because it's nature. The gameplay loop has always been mostly the same. Yes, recently they've had some changes in that, making it a little bit more action, but I believe that's gonna stick for the Legend series, because I think they see the Legend series almost like a test for their initiatives. So what else do you need to do in these games? I think that they need to sell the fact that you're exploring a new place, you want to see a new culture, you want to feel and live the region. Like, what was the thing that you guys wanted to do growing up and playing Pokemon? You wanted it to be real because you wanted to have these amazing creatures next to you while traveling the world. And that's what I did in a small way. I went to the park together with I think it was like a Torchic minifigure, and I was walking all around the park and I felt like I was living a Pokemon adventure. So I think that the other major thing that is missing right now is that you do not feel like you're living in a culture, in a place that lives even without you, that exists also without you. I think they kind of managed to do that with Sword and Shield, even though most of the towns, I feel that, and the routes also maybe a little bit less, they feel very similar. While, for example, I'm just thinking about a random game in Pokemon Emerald, all the routes feel different, even though it's 2D. But the main thing is that for Pokemon games that were not open world, it was easier for them because they didn't need to think about the camera, only, you know, in the wild areas. When you do level design and you have a place that can be looked at from just one perspective, it's going to be easier to show to your players what you want to show them. So maybe you want to have, you know, a mountain in the back with Pokemon flying above it. You're just going to see it when you walk in a specific path. Well, of course, if you're playing in an open world, you should be able to see that at any point. And that's just one example. There are many examples that can be made about open world versus not open world. The third major thing, and now we're talking about it, is the fact that the games are buggy, guys. You know, and I've worked in quality assurance for the gaming industry for a while. And the thing that I can tell you is that if every one of us, almost every one of us, had a buggy experience with Scarlet and Violet, it's because those games were so buggy. Usually you have a quality assurance team and a tester team to go through the game, and in most of the cases you need to dig through the game to find something wrong with it. But there, everybody just playing casually had at least one crash during their experience. And crashes are like the most malicious thing that you want to avoid. So I do not know what went wrong with their development process. I definitely know that they're not investing enough money in this game, but we all know this. The new Super Bowl commercial for the 30th anniversary just came out, and they invested, I think, around $40 million in that, while Legends EA, the latest title of the main series, got like a $10 million budget. So there is definitely something weird there, but what we understand is that they don't want to invest too much in these games, even though they could. So now the question is, what can they do with the resources that they have currently, that the higher ups are giving them, to make everything better? And to be honest, I think that there are two solutions. One would be to go back to not open world games, because I think they were improving the way they were making those games, and they were starting to nail it. But I think that would be very hard for the players to go back to something that is now in the past. The other thing is that what I think they're actually doing for Gen 10, and there's gonna be a few spoilers regarding what could be in Gen 10 based on the leaks that came out. And probably most of you guys know this, but the new region should look like an archipelagus. And I think that is very smart for what they need to do, because, you know, for a big region, you're gonna need to find a way to make all the places very interesting. With an archipelagus, you need to focus on like 10 islands, which are, you know, smaller in a walkable area, and then it's just sea. Yes, maybe there are some underwater routes, and that's gonna be very interesting to see how they bring sub back. But with that, they can concentrate more about level design, which is gonna be, again, more concentrated in the square feet size. Yeah, and it's definitely gonna be easier to make it interesting. So I really hope that on the 27th of this month, we look at the trailer for whatever they have ready for Gen 10, and we're actually glad that we do not have a huge region, because I don't think that's what we need right now. Going back to it, what I really think we need is a better art direction that would make everything feel coherent, creature-wise and region-wise. A better level design that doesn't try to do too much. We don't need to explore a region that is necessarily huge. What we need is a middle-sized region that has nice details, interesting details, stuff that is nice to look at. And then the third thing, of course, is that there shouldn't be bugs. And I think that by fixing especially the second thing that I explained to you, it's gonna be much easier to concentrate on that. Another thing that I wanted to share with you guys, and I don't necessarily think that this is one of the major things that they should fix, but it's something that would make the rest of the work much easier, is that they shouldn't necessarily concentrate about bringing the national Pokedex back. And I know this is gonna be controversial with most of you because, hey, I wanna have my Cloyster in the game because it's my favorite Pokemon. And I completely understand that. My favorite Pokemon is Hisuian Zoroark, and I don't expect to see that Pokemon in most of the games that come out. But think about how hard it is to have all the animations, the 3D models, nailed, all the attacks nailed down for all the Pokemon in the games. I think it's better to have a game that is more coherent, well structured and interesting, better looking, compared to have all the Pokemon that are available right now. We're talking about more than 1K Pokemon, and I know it's always the same topic. They have enough resources, they have enough money to get everything done. But at this point, we should be able to be honest with ourselves and say that they have some limitations in their development, and this is what we're working with. I'm gonna say something that is very controversial, but I think that having something like Black and White, a new Pokedex with only new Pokemon, new creatures, and yes, maybe some regional forms, because that's always interesting and always works with nostalgia, which is a huge thing about Pokemon, is gonna be enough for the main story. And it's gonna allow them to, you know, sell new merchandise because it's new creatures, new plushes, new toys, etc. They can focus on the design of the new creatures so that they can make them better. You know, they don't need to put Caterpie in the game just because, you know, 10 people in Sweden like it. I think they should just concentrate on the new Pokemon, make them very good. A Pokedex that is not small like X and Y, but not as big as, you know, Black and White, something in the middle, around 110 creatures, something like that. And then after you beat the Pokemon League, then maybe you have access to new areas, or you have, you know, Pokemon coming in from other regions. And I wouldn't even put all the Pokemon, the 1K Pokemon. That doesn't make sense. Why would you have all the Pokemon available in one region? It's not like in Italy you're gonna see some zebras in the wild. That's not how the world works. Have the main story, have your 100 plus new Pokemon. Yes, maybe a couple of older Pokemon, even though I don't think it's necessary, because the nostalgia wagon is gonna run with the regional forms. And then after you beat the Pokemon League, have some of the old Pokemon to make the national dex of that region. I definitely think this is going to allow them to concentrate more on the geography of the region, on the culture, on the story, on the gameplay, and less on the creatures, which I think takes too much time for them and too much effort and resources. And at this point, after the, I think, third or fourth game that is disappointing for us guys, I think this is the best choice that they could make. So at the end of the day, guys, what do I want to see on February the 27th for Gen 10? I want to see a game that is not too big in scope, a map that is not too huge for what we need, a couple of new Pokemons like the starters just to give us a tease on what the future is going to look like creature design wise. Necessarily, we need a nice art style that looks appealing to the eye. Maybe some look at the region to see the landscape and how the level design is. And that's mainly it, guys. If we see something that is looking wise more similar to Let's Go, but you know, in a more open area, I think they're gonna nail it. That is what people want. They want something cartoony, something with a fun art style, and not something that tries to be realistic in a series that doesn't need to be realistic. But yeah, that's basically it, you guys. This was my take, my thoughts. I hope you guys don't get mad at me for my controversial views. But let me know what you think here down in the comments, and if you want to talk more about the current situation in the Pokemon world, we can definitely do that, because I decided to post videos because I'm such a huge fan and I have some projects in my mind that I think would be very interesting for the channel. I'm not gonna spoil too much, but it's something that was never done before, or I haven't been able to find on YouTube. So yeah, if you're a Pokemon fan, just stick around because it's gonna be so much fun. So I'm probably trying to do a live reaction on the Pokemon Direct, so stick around with that if you're interested, and then I will share my thoughts after I see the trailer. So guys, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.